5 seconds to go. Start. In order to implement the recommendations of the Law Commission in its 242nd report, the state of Rajasthan has enacted the Rajasthan Prohibition of Interference with the Freedom of Matrimonial Alliances in the name of honor and Tradition Act 2019 on the same lines. In the interest of liberty and dignity of young men and women in choosing their life partners, and in the interest of peace, tranquillity and equality in the society, it is eminently necessary that the directions issued by this court in Shakti Vahini versus Union of India and others supra should also be carried out by the state governments without any further delay. In United Kingdom and Canada, racial and religiously motivated crimes are treated as aggravating factors for enhanced punishment. Section 145 of the Criminal Justice Act 2003 provides that the court must treat an offence which was racial or religiously incensed as an aggravating factor. In Canada, courts are guided by the following principles while imposing the sentence. A court that imposes a sentence shall also take into consideration the following principles. A sentence should be increased or reduced to account for any relevant aggravating or mitigating circumstances relating to the offence or the offender, and without limiting the generality of the foregoing. Evidence that the offence was motivated by bias, prejudice or hate based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religious, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation or gender identity or expression, or on any other similar factor, shall be deemed to be aggravating circumstances. Though racial, religiously motivated actions are not codified to be an aggravating circumstance for enhancement of penalties for a crime, the principle is well recognized by the Supreme Court of US. In that case, Mitchell was convicted for aggravated battery by the circuit court and sentenced to imprisonment for a period of 4 years when the maximum sentence for the offence was 2 years. The enhanced sentence was based on the hate crimes statutes, which provided for a longer maximum sentence. The enhanced sentence was upheld by Court of Appeals, which was reversed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of US set aside the findings of the Supreme Court and held that Mitchell's First Amendment freedom of speech and association rights were not violated by the application of the penalty enhancement sentencing provision. The Supreme Court referred to Blackstone, who said it is but reasonable that among crimes of different natures, those should be most severely punished which are the most destructive of the public safety and happiness. In India, imposition of death sentence can be only after special reasons are recorded as per section 354(3) of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. In Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab, this court held that while ascertaining the existence or absence of the special reasons, the court must pay due regard both to the crime and criminal. Relative weightage has to be given to the aggravating and mitigating factors depending upon the facts and circumstances of each case. Accepting the suggestions, this court held the following factors as indicators of aggravating circumstances. This court made it clear that judicial discretion was not being fettered by making an attempt to have an exhaustive enumeration. In Machhi Singh versus State of Punjab, this court summed up the factors that may be taken into account by the court for imposition of death sentence when the murder is committed in an extremely brutal, grotesque, diabolical, revolting, or dastardly manner so as to arouse intense and extreme indignation of the community. For instance, when the house of the victim is set aflame with the end in view to roast him alive in the house, when the victim is subjected to inhuman acts of torture or cruelty in order to bring about his or her death, when the body of the victim is cut into pieces or his body is dismembered in a fiendish manner, when the murder is committed for a motive which evinces total depravity and meanness. For instance, when a hired assassin commits murder for the sake of money or reward, a cold blooded murder is committed with a deliberate design in order to inherit property or to gain control over property of a ward or a person under the control of the murderer or vis-a-vis whom the murderer is in a dominating position or in a position of trust, or a murder is committed in the course for betrayal of the motherland. Stop.